Hello everyone and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I want to do an updated crystal video because Pearl Abyss likes to add and remove a lot of weird things, but also they added more methods of getting certain crystals. So I figured it might be time for an upgrade. A lot of the things are the same. So if you've seen my last video, it's, I would say, mostly going to be the same, but we're going to talk about some new things they added as well. All right, so before we start, I just want to say, if you're a new player and you're wondering what are some budget crystals to get, we'll talk about that as well. But also, they've also added some new hunting spots, which you can get Lifeskill Crystals from, and some more crystals for a CC resist for PvEers. So, this is my Overcap setup. This is basically what you use if you are overcapped in a spot, and let's start by talking about what that actually means. So, for example, these are your stats. By default, it is going to look something like this. This just shows your sheet AP and like this number over here. What you want to do is sort it by total stats, and then depending on where you're grinding, so like the enemy type, you want to filter that one. So we're just going to keep mine at no species because that'll change depending on what you're doing. Okay, so you want to basically sort it by that one, and then when you pick a spot, you'll see a number over here. So this is the recommended to grind at the spot. This is the effective limit. So like once you're past 550 in this case, you can go up to 600 and do it more efficiently. And then after 600% or goes down, it tells you in the tooltip by only 70% of excess is applied. So basically, once you're way past the max AP limit, you kind of want to just move to a new spot. So understanding that, let's go talk about crystals. Overcap, nothing changed in this one. So when you're beyond overcap in the spot, what you want to do is trade off the extra damage because it doesn't really matter. Well, at minimum, and then you want to go for more attack and cast speed. This will allow you to attack faster and then in theory clear faster, even if the damage itself isn't there. You're gonna see me use the Han Dusky Ruin and everything, so you're probably like, oh, why are you using this? You're not even grinding Edania spots. So it also does give plus 20 damage reduction, and that plus 20 damage reduction works in every grind spot, so it's more defensive layers. So one thing I use is max HP. This one you can also swap out for, you know, Frozen Bitterness, or if you don't want to use both of them or you don't have them and you only have one, you could use HP, Frozen Bitterness, or you could swap these out for two crystals that I would recommend, which is like Stalwart Fortitude for more monster defense or literally anything else defensive, I guess. But anyway, with that one, the middle crystal is from your outfit. It's kind of irrelevant, but for all of you who are wondering, what do these crystals do? And then here you could take a screenshot, and basically this is what I'll just show you what each crystal is. So yeah, I'll try to go through it slowly so you guys can see it and see what kind of crystals, what are they called and everything. And if you need to take a screenshot, feel free to do so. And this is what I use. If you don't have the Han crystals over here at the bottom, don't worry. You can only use it when you're at the Karazad stage in general. So when you're at Karazad or Purple, that's when you can use them. If you don't have them, you can do the exchange to get them, or you can grind Morning Light spots to get them. No, ultimately not too bad. So if you don't have it, it's not really a big deal. Also, when you're overcapped, one thing you could change is you could start swapping into, let's say, Black Spirit Rage. So like you could do more, you know, BSR hits faster, but really just depends. So yeah, I'd recommend doing that. Or if you need more defensives, you can drop damage. You can get the damage reduction crystals. I wouldn't really recommend that for PvE at all. I would just say Black Spirit Rage if you want to do more min-maxing when you're overcapped. But keep in mind, these are very expensive endgame crystals, so I just kept mine for damage, and it's generally fine for most people. PvE damage, this crystal setup is the same, and this one is when you're trying to meet an AP cap. So you know how in the beginning we talked about, let's say, you know, it went from 550 to 600. if your goal is to get to that 600 cap, or whatever the spot you're at, this is the max damage output. So you would use this if you are trying to push that extra few AP into the new grind spot that you're in. And this is what I have. So 4 ultimate hooms and then max damage for here. So if you want to see the difference, basically I took out the attack cast speed and the defensives, and then I added more damage in here with the Stalwart Fortitude for extra AP, and then the combination of 4 ultimate hooms is here as well. So yeah, for the most part it's the same thing, but here is the list of crystals that I used. And once again, I should probably talk about this early. If you're a new player and you're like, oh, I can't get these crystals of the void, or I can't get these avoid destructions or corrupted gluttonies, here are the budget options. All right, so instead of corrupted gluttonies, you just used regular corrupted ones. Basically the difference is an extra little bit of AP. So these are +2 AP, these are +5. It's literally a 3 AP difference. At endgame it matters, but for mid-game players, these are the budget options that everyone can get, and also significantly cheaper. These are 3 billion each, and these are like 300 mil, so keep in mind that. Ockrod crystals and void destructions. So if you don't have the expensive one over here, you get this one. The difference is 2 AP, and the difference is also 3 billion silver versus 100 billion. So that's like the beginner budget options. Ockrod is, I think I have an extra one I could show you. Yeah, you could use the glorious one, and it's +7 versus +9, so +2 AP for the min-max version, but expensive one. So yeah, those are the beginner ones you can use, and this is max damage. All you change out is ultimate Macalods for max damage versus some attack and cast speed and extra AP. Okay, so knockdown, knockback, and stun are generally the same. However, you see how the bottom crystals are the Sycraia crystals. It took a while to actually grind out all 6 of them. I really like the new Sycraia spot, by the way. So back in the day, we would be using the red battlefield ones, but you also have the budget options of the ancient magic crystals for the ones you're grinding. It's adamantine, giant, and I believe there's another one that I don't remember. But anyway, so you would just search magic crystal, or what is it called? Ancient magic crystal of nature, and then there's 3 types. But yeah, if you don't have all the presets and you're free to play and you don't know, it's okay. Generally, for the most part, these are all the same. Mine are tailored towards more endgame, so this one would be knockback for Sycraia. This stun resist one is Tenebrom, so endgame stuff. But when you're thinking about it, you would use these 2 for most people, and you need a CC resist crystal. You'd use one of these 2 depending on where you're grinding, and then you take out some 2 of them. So for example, let's say you were overcapped, you could literally take out the HP or some of the Frozen Bitterness and replace it with the 2 crystals you get over here. If you're getting into a spot and you need it, you could take out 1 Stalwart Fortitude, and then anything that gives you the least amount of AP for another one. So you're trying to minimize the AP loss, but you get the 100% CC resist. And so that would be 1 Stalwart Fortitude in this case. And well, you need a combination of this. So it would probably be 1 Void Destruction, because that one is 1 less. So that's what I would choose. But ultimately, pick one of these 2 combinations, take out 2 crystals that I would just tell you, and then replace it with that one. You're probably wondering, these look different. This frozen bitterness or dog patience versus unyielding, they're the exact same thing. They just have the different CC plus 10%. Does it really matter? No, because you should be 100% if you're full buffed anyway. So with these 2, they give you 50%, and then you get another 50% through buffs. And then let me show you how. So I'm not PvE buffed right now, but I am let me show you how to do this. It doesn't matter which one we pick. Let's just pick stun. If we have 100% over here, and then if you take out these two, let's see, what would it be? These are okay. So you're at 90%, even if you didn't have them, right? So hold on, let me show you. So I'm at 90%. I took out these two. If you have these, you would get 90 from that, and then you would get, let's see, another 2 resistance from your alchemy stone. And then if you do another 10% from body enhancement, which is the villa buff essentially. So you can get 100% cap without it. But these are just kind of nice to have. And I just kind of added them just in case people needed them and you don't have the giant crystals. But for people on the budget, these are functionally the same thing and very cheap to get. They just don't give the extra AP. So you could buy all the other ones, the budget options, and still be fine. You just don't get the extra plus 4 AP on the side of it, which depending on where you're grinding could or could not matter. So either way, you use these plus 5 AP and 10% extra. You can get 100 without. You can get 100% without it just by using Villa buff in general. So good to go. All right, PvP damage. This one is what I would say most people use in open world, uncapped. So like anything that doesn't have any sort of AP caps. This one is max damage output. You would have 2 Vipers over here for damage against adventurers. So there's 2 different things now. If you're a new player, you're probably wondering what is the difference between AP against adventurers and AP against humans. Humans are apparently a PvE enemy type. Adventurers are players. So yeah, back in the day it was the same stat, but for one of them. Nowadays they kind of just added another stat line, making it more confusing, even though it is the exact same thing. So anyway, nothing changed. Double red spirits for more adventure damage, more adventure onto Karma. Keep in mind there is 2 different types that give the exact same thing, except the difference is one gives attack speed and one gives cast speed. So if you're a caster, you would use cast speed. So look at your class, and if you don't know what you are, it should be obvious, but look at your combat type over here. It'll just tell you melee and range and magic. So just hover over the tooltip. I would say it's obvious, but just in case you needed help, there it is. Just hover over that and it'll tell you what it is. All right, so yeah, this is maximum damage output with Olukas. And let me just scroll down so you guys can see crystals over here. These are the ones that matter. Vipers, Karmas. Keep in mind this one is attack speed. Not that it really matters. You should be capped out with buffs anyway, but yeah, there's that. Should be good to go. This is max damage output. You're kind of a glass cannon with it. So you do big damage, you take big damage. This one is for my PvP capped. So if you do node wars, generally most node wars are capped. Or if you're doing anything else that has capped PvP, this one's a little bit different. Okay, so a lot of these you've probably seen before. Let's talk about what's different. So if you are over the AP and DP cap, you just want to add extra HP, which also, you know, there is an HP cap. Let me show you how to figure this out. Which one was node war information? You hover over this tab and then whatever tier of node war you're doing, like this one is a tier 4, this one's a tier 5, just hover over it. Green stats equals you are overcapped. Red stats means you're not overcapped in it. So ideally you want to, you know, get everything to green and then trade off certain numbers to be able to, you know, go a little bit lower. So keep in mind, my build for this one is, you know, just kind of, I added crystals that would just be more or less useful, even if it's basically irrelevant. Okay, so what do I have here? I have double defense because depending on where you node war, fall damage could be a thing. Will it really help you? Not really, but if you're overcapped in any sort of node wars, you might as well just have the extra ones. Another crystal setup that I had was Ascension, which is jump height. We've all gotten stuck on something, and so jump height might be nice to have if you are already overcapped on all the critical important stats. Do these help you? Very minimally, but probably not. But it's just nice to have. I also have 2 HP recovery crystals over here. So recover 3 HP on hit times 2. Will it help you in a PvP situation? Chances are not if the other person is good. Plus 6 HP does not mean anything when everyone's health is like 8,000 and up. So either way, this is better than just having dead stats on it. So it could be nice, but it's just one of those, if you are overcapped and you have nothing else to put on these crystals, that's what you do. Another thing you could do is also Black Spirit Rage crystals. You can have up to 4 of them if you're popping 200s. It's very expensive to have these crystals, so they're like 35 billion each just for the Jin version, and then you have to turn it into a Han, which is another expensive thing in general. So if you just have like all AP or all DP, that's probably fine. But like ultimately I'd say BSR is probably the most useful thing, but it's more for the end game expensive, setups. But aside from that, just try to get to all the AP caps and stat caps that you're trying to do for whatever node war tier you're doing, and then trade off for, fall damage, jump height, and then extra HP recovery. Those are very minimal stats, but they do something instead of having no benefit. Evasion. I don't play an evasion class, admittedly. I just talked to some other people who do play evasions, and this is what they use. This is more for their, just if you're going full evasion, you might as well commit, and then this is what it is. So let me just show you what all these crystals are. You got 4 Hooms because you want to be a little bit more defensive. And then over here we have double Harpias, and then this is like a little bit of mix of damage inside as well for PvP. But ultimately you just want more evasion. So damage, evasion, more defensives. And this is what I talked to high-end PvPers, and this is what they use, but they might have 3 Han evasions instead. So I don't play it, so I didn't bother investing into evasion crystals, but this is for the most part what people use. +1, -1 evasion crystal. And yeah, there's that. So these are the crystals. Admittedly, I don't use it, but I've talked to people who do, and if you're not using one of these 2 setups and you're using the evasion memer build, this is what it is. BSR. This one goes directly for overcapped into Black Spirit Rage. It's essentially this one, but with instead of HP, this goes into a little bit more higher end, but not super high, but with a little bit more damage. I was using this at higher end. Bitterness with Void Destructions, and then the 2 BSR crystals that I have. So basically this one, but with BSR crystals, and then a little bit more damage for the spot if you need it. So yep, there's that. Let me just show you these once again. PvE defense. So this one is one that I use when one of 2 things happen. Let's say you go into an RBF or something that doesn't have a cap, and you just want to feel tanky. This is kind of literally 0 damage, but you don't die. Obviously, if you can have Jin damage reductions, that's better. But it's just one of those things where you're just like, I want to go into an RBF and like take no damage. That's it. But with Jin crystals, it's even as a Dark Knight, one of the squishiest classes in the game. I felt the difference in terms of survivability. It's nice. You do no damage, but you don't. You can survive longer. It's kind of fun, but not really practical in anything. Accuracy. This is PvP exclusive because accuracy in PvE is kind of irrelevant. So yeah, so you would want to have 1 to 3 accuracy crystals at the bottom. Guess depends on who you're fighting and how geared you are, but for the most part, like, these are very niche. Like, let's say someone is using this evasion build. How do you counter it? You get the accuracy version, rock paper scissors kind of thing. But aside from that, unless you're playing against like niche builds, chances are most people are running this with maybe like 1 or 2 accuracy, max damage with a combination of some sort of accuracy. This one is just more accuracy fighting against complete evasion. So it's really a rock paper scissors. There's no right or wrong answer, but what I've experienced myself is 1 to 3 crystals, assuming they're like at least Bon, Jin, or Han. If you have wands, it's not really that nice. I don't use this as much, but there it is. Like, same thing. It's really the same damage output, both accuracy. So let me show you the setup I have. And obviously, if you can upgrade them, it's good, but they're 45 bill each for a Jin. Let me just look at that right now. They have to be the most expensive ones, aren't they? Yeah, this once again, these are not cheap things, and I feel like most people are not at the stage of the game where this matters, and if you are probably doing sieges, and that's what it's for. So yeah, that's what it is. Defensives with accuracy, a little bit of mix of damage inside. Red crystal because it gives the max combination of all 3 stats, AP, DP, and special, extra bonuses. This is my Edania DPS, and this is my Edania overcapped one. So basically Zephyros versus Tenebrum. This is Zephyros when I'm just trying to max out damage because I am not AP capped in the spot. Because, let me show you why. Because it says 110 out of 165, and then some people one tap it, but that's not me. I also pitied this one too. My first Nav, you guys saw the video, went full 165. Second one, we are at 110. I think I am actually the unluckiest player in this game, minus those people who went full pity on the Fallen God pen, which is a little too crazy. But aside from that, your average person hits these in around 50 to 60 taps. I have never hit a Nav. So my first one went full pity. Feels bad. Why do I play this game? Anyway, overcapped. If you are overcapped in the spot, what would I do? It's this one. So I use this for Tenebrum. You would swap these crystals, kind of like the CC resist ones we talked over here, based on whatever you're using. But this is the max damage for Edania. You would be using the Dusky Ruin crystal, which is max Edania damage, and then trade off a little bit. You could take off the Frozen Bitterness, and you could also add Alukas, which is attack cast speed. So it really just depends. Can you survive it without any worries, or really just depends. Are you watching a video on the side and you're not locked in? Then you might want to add a little bit more defensives. If you're super locked in and you're trying to min-max, I would probably go attack cast speed, but depends on what you're doing. All right, life skills. If you're a life skiller, this is easy. Oh, you have 2 different crystals to get. You don't have to worry about the other 100 tabs of whatever. You get big crystals. All right, let me show you. Here is the budget version, Vital and Life. This is the budget version. You combine the Vital with the Life crystal, and then you get the, Essence of Verdure. I have a video of that. I'll leave a link in the description talking about how to go about farming it. Let me just show you. So you need these things, the Rusalka Squirrels. I'm just going to leave a link in the description if you care about it and you're a life skiller on how to go about efficiently grinding and gathering those. It's around here in general, but that's a different video. So if you're basically the life and vital, you get those, and then you combine it with the essence of verdure, and then you get this. If you could buy it from off the market, I would recommend doing that because it saves you a lot of time. But yeah, you only have one type of crystal to get at endgame, and it's that one. And then at the bottom for the Jinn ones, once again, it's kind of like the same thing. So you start with these, the wand crystals, and you can craft them by Trace of Nature, Magical Lightstones, and Essence of Dawn, which is a little expensive actually, but you know, you got to start somewhere. I've actually gotten a lot of these just by gathering naturally, and then sometimes the double proc if you have the hedgehog. So if you're gathering, you probably got some, and then you just combine like 5 of these, and then you get the bond. Combine 5 bonds into a Jinn, and then realistically, I think if you put an order on wands, these fill pretty easily. And then if you can get the Jinns, like, there's a lot more orders, but I think it's not too bad to the point where if you put an order on it, it might fill. So who knows? Either way, if you want to just gather them out yourself, watch the video that I linked, and that's how I did it for the most part. Combat XP. This is exclusively for when I'm playing on seasonal characters, or I am on a training dummy, which is very rarely because fishing equals silver. Training dummies equal combat XP for the memes. So I would recommend for 99% of you, fishing XP or fishing money is always good. And so yeah, there's that. So these crystals down here are relevant, but I just want to fill it to make it not empty. You get these through seasonals, and if you don't have them, here's what you do. I think it's, oh god, what are these crystals? Magic Crystals of Infinity Experience. These are plus 10% instead of 20. You can add as many of these, there's no limit, and just buy as many of them until you fill it out. So for all you beginners out there, you can fill it out with those. And then as you play through seasons, you get 2 more, and these are plus 20. So it's just nice to have. It's good for seasonals and AFK training, but you shouldn't really be using these in any sort of meaningful content. Otherwise, you'd use literally any of these. But for AFK stuff, seasonals where you're just leveling it to 60 or something, it's good enough. Girin's tiers are minimum price nowadays, and they give you plus 75. So you should be using at least one of those, and then that's about it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. That's the crystals setup that I had. So yeah, life skills. You can also get the Rusalka things by hunting the life skill in Edania. We made a video of that. There's a few spots down by the coast of Tenebrom around here. And the coral crabs, you can hunt life skill it as well as if you are a gatherer. So gathering and then hunting, you can get them there as well. So there's that. And that's all I wanted to talk about. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comments. Happy to point you in the right direction. Or if you have any gear help things or questions, join the Discord, and then I have a channel for that. You basically, the way it works is post a screenshot, ask your question, and I'll point you in the right direction. So anyway, that's all I want to talk about. If you're new to your channel, hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of stuff to talk about in the near future. Crimson Desert is also coming out in 2 days. So we'll be playing that, and hopefully you guys are looking forward to it as well. So I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.